Well, hello, everybody. It's December 6th, and this is the Rebel Roundup. This is our bi-weekly live news show, and I am Drea Humphrey, the BC Bureau Chief for Rebel News, and my lovely colleague who's co-hosting with me, Alexa Lavoie from out in Montreal. How are you doing, Alexa?
I'm cold.
I'm not doing that bad. I bet it is.
That's why I'm taking my tea.
Oh, I love that cup. I love that cup. Is that one of our cups?
Yes, of course.
Okay, well, good note, because by the way, if you have not finished your Christmas shopping, you could get that cup. You could also get this sweater. All I want for Christmas is a new prime minister.
And due to inflation, I'm your Christmas gift.
I love it. So all of that is at the Rebel News store. What a better way to support us and also just put a smile on your freedom lovers in your family's faces. So if you go to rebelnewsstore.com, you can buy and shop for your Christmas presents. And we actually have 15% off, which me and Alexa were talking about when we saw each other last. And we're like, that's a really good sale. I don't remember that happening before. So 15% off using the coupon code Rebel Christmas or Rebel Xmas if you're triggered by that. And you better do that quick because there's the whole Canada Post thing going on, but it's still good right now if you're shopping now. And the company that we use doesn't really rely heavily on Canada Post anyways, except for rural areas. But if you're in one of those areas, head to rebelnewsstore.com. Now, I wasn't actually going to do all that right now, but it just naturally, we're so geared up and we're so in tune that just happened.
Exactly.
I should tell people watching what this is about. Normally, it's hosted by David Menzies, who's out on a special mission today. Although I hear in the show, he will still be present in some way, perhaps in his bare chest. So make sure you stay tuned. But we go through the news of the day. And we talk to you totally unscripted, but my favorite part about it is that you get to be part of the show. And how do you do that? Well, you go to our freedom of speech loving friends over at rumble.com, where we don't get censored, where you don't get censored, and where you can do a Rumble rant. And if you donate $5 or more to that, and do a comment, weigh into the show, we do read that. Alexa or myself will go through that. But those are donations that help us keep the lights on, help us get our reports out, keep our boots on the ground. As many of you know, we don't take a penny from the state to bring you the news. So much appreciated. Again, that's Rumble Rants on rumble.com. So I guess we just kick it off, right, Alexa?
Oh, yeah. I think we have a lot to talk about, too.
We do, starting with, I'm just scrolling and trying to stall as I scroll. Here we go. Oh,
what happened in Melbourne is outrageous.
Another place of worship under attack, this time Jews targeted in shocking Melbourne synagogue arson attack. Let's have a look. All right. So early morning worshippers narrowly escaped the blaze as one of Australia's busiest synagogues becomes the target of hate. Um, the arson attack took place at the Adas Israel Synagogue in Ripponlea, sorry if I said that wrong, in Melbourne. And worshippers were actually inside, which is terrifying. Emergency services were alerted to the fire at the Glen Era Road Synagogue around 4:20 a.m. We have our Avi Yemini is out there. Perhaps we should just play that clip and see what he had to say from the scene.
Jacinta, why are you running away from the tough question? Why are you running away? Like a coward. No Jew can believe you're going to keep him safe. You came for a photo op.
Today I spent the entire day at the site of the Melbourne synagogue, which was firebombed overnight. I have a full report coming over the weekend. But for now, I want you to watch and share what happened when the Victorian Premier came shamelessly for a photo op and a press conference at the burnt place of worship, but was met with real journalism. Then make sure to head to protectthejews.com.au and sign my new petition, Standing with the Australian Jewish Community.
What would you say to a big proportion of the Jewish community that blame you personally for not acting on anti-Semitism properly until now? For the last year, we've seen this. We've seen protests outside synagogue. Even in the last week, it's taken a synagogue to be burned down for you to come here and make a statement.
Well, over the past 14 months, we have seen how conflict, and this is something that is conflict over the past 14 months, has brought conflict to the streets of Melbourne, the streets of Sydney, to many parts of the Western world. And my focus over that period of time has been to support members of the Jewish community who I know from speaking to so many personally are grieving that conflict in the Middle East, as so many other people around the world are. So my focus is on the Jewish community, is providing the support. That is why we are here today, pledging that $100,000 commitment to get the ball rolling on rebuilding this place of worship and sending a very clear message, like we are with the legislation that's in the Victorian Parliament, that this sort of evil act has no place here in this state.
Why haven't you done anything for the year and a half till this happened? Why did it have to take a burning of a synagogue?
My focus today is on supporting the Jewish community.
Avi, can I just ask a quick question? Jacinta, you mentioned that you're going to increase police patrols and you're going to increase your presence. Is that not a sign that you've lost control in this state and the Jewish community are now under real threat, and that your government has ultimately failed? And let's be clear, in November 2023, there was an attack in the synagogue, and the Summary Offences Act gave Victoria Police the ability to charge them under that act, a very low threshold, but you didn't use it. And had you done that, we wouldn't be here today. So let's stop with the politics and let's get a short, sharp, straight answer. Have you lost control? Have you lost control? Yes or no?
I will take advice from Victoria Police. I will take the advice from the Victoria Police and the Chief Commissioner, who advises me that in terms of acts of violence, they have the tools and the powers to investigate and prosecute people. It would be
You've lost control. You've lost control.
It would be deeply inappropriate.
You played politics, and this is the consequence.
Premier, why should the Jewish community, Premier, why should the Jewish community?
To the gentleman who was just calm down? Yeah, thank you. Can we just take our time?
Premier,
Excuse me, sir. Thank you.
it's okay. She's the Premier. I think she can handle it. Premier, why should Jews now trust that you're going to keep him safe when you failed a year and a half?
Can you just step
I
back
understand she doesn't want to answer it.
No, the cameras.
I don't know who you are. Jacinta.
Just
We
a lot
understand the
of
questions got tough, but how can the Jewish community believe that you're going to keep them safe when you failed for a year and a half? Jacinta, we understand it's easier to run away, but what would you say to the Jewish community for them to believe that you could keep them safe since you failed them for a year and a half? Look at that. What are you doing? Why are you blocking my way, mate? Jacinta, why are you running away from the tough question? Why are you running?
You can do copy paste on what is going on in Canada, like especially like in Montreal, we see like some protests in front of synagogue. We have seen so many churches burning down over here, and what the mayor and what the politicians are doing, just like, oh, we are condemning it, but nothing else. Like,
Yeah.
it's empty words.
Yeah, we're supposed to have freedom of religion, and you're right. If you're allowing these protests to happen, and things can get heated, things can get riled up, and this happens. Speaking about how unsafe it is, the emergency services were alerted to the fire. Oh, I already read that. Let me scroll down. Sorry. One of the board members of the synagogue recounted the terrifying moments leading up to the blaze. So this is what I meant by somebody being in there. It says around 4:15 a.m., two people inside heard banging on the door. They saw people throw liquid inside and light it on fire. The two guests had to run out the back door. One of them got burns on his hands. So this is some serious stuff. And Alexa, you mentioned the churches, for example, burning across the country. I think the most recent took place in Quebec, that beautiful church that I don't remember the year. I think it first came around 1917, burnt. And I think that's around the 103rd church to be burnt or vandalized across the country since 2021. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's almost becoming more normalized, and it's targeted against, when you look at Canada, we're founded on Judeo-Christian values, and it seems to be that these things are targeted in those areas. Jacinta running away there from the question about why are you waiting, it did remind me, it took me to a flashback. I think I put the link. Sorry, my headphones aren't working very good. I put a link in the chat of when the church burning spree first started in Canada, and it was around the 20 church mark. It started in British Columbia, if everybody remembers, after the false claim that 215 Indigenous children's remains had been found at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. So I actually posed the question to the then premier, now late premier at the time, John Horgan, and Trudeau, to try to get answers from them, because when I tried a couple of weeks earlier, Trudeau's RCMP goons had sort of tossed me away. But a clip of just how they run away, but yet they come for their photo ops at these things, like, oh, I care so much.
In Ontario, will you call it hate and terrorism to attack Christian places of worship, Prime Minister? We are being persecuted.
I got a little passionate there.
Since Trudeau chose to smugly acknowledge the hate involved when someone is lighting churches on fire with families inside of it. We now have learned that the CBC report that stated that the family was in there during the time of the attempted arson was not the case. It was actually just the father. But nevertheless, this is the Prime Minister not caring either way.
Yeah, so another example of someone being inside of the church. We didn't show the Horgan thing, but my point with showing that is that there's such a double standard with when to care. If this had happened to a mosque, God forbid, the whole world would know about it. I don't even think many Canadians know this stuff is starting to happen or has been happening now in Australia.
It's really sad what is going on because, you know, in Montreal especially, now I'm talking about the Jewish community, but when they are mentioning that they don't feel safe anymore, and a lot of them doesn't want to show their David star, or they don't want to wear their kippah, just by fear of being targeted in the middle of the street. This is a real problem. This is a real danger right now that we are facing.
And this isn't happening in the Middle East. This is happening here. It's happening where you are. It's happening in BC. It's happening in Australia. And speaking of not feeling safe, we've got another clip here of the police showing up to the Adas synagogue, and it looks like they're actually arresting one or more of the Jews watching the flames.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get my car out. Don't get him. Don't get him in the car. Come on. No. I'm the one who called.
She, he just said he's the one that called. My goodness.
Like, seriously, imagine you're already in shock to see
Yeah.
your place of worship being burned down, and the police came and they push you on the car, search you, and arrest you. What?
Yeah.
Do you really
Yeah.
think that it's them that actually burned the place down? They will not have stayed in front and watching it.
Well, I think that is a thing. I think arsonists do peek in the corner, but that was clearly not the arsonist, and he's yelling, "I'm the one who called you." So much wrong on so many levels. But we do know that Trump and his team is about to take over in the US. And it appears when it comes to this issue of church burning, they have not forgotten about that. JD Vance has come out and actually talked about the church burnings in Canada. He says Canada has seen a number of church burnings in recent years thanks to anti-Christian bigotry. Now, that's a phrase you don't see very often, but it's a thing. We hear about hate all the time. No one wants to talk about the fact that hate attempts against Catholics and Christians in Canada went up 260% in the year 2022. No, that's not hate at all. So he calls it for what it is. And all over the world, Christians are the most persecuted religion group. Jamil is speaking the truth. Shame on journalists. So did Jamil do a video, or I'm not sure what he means?
Yes, he did. He announced the petition that they are launching at the parliament.
Right. Okay. This is our federal MP here, Jamil. I forgot his last name. Sorry.
Giovanni.
Jamil Giovanni here, Member of Parliament for Durham. I'm sounding the alarm. We need to do more to protect Christians in Canada. Now, when you see a Christmas tree like this in Parliament, you might think that's a sign of respect for Christians. But what good is a Christmas tree here in Parliament when you have a federal government that will not lift a finger to protect Christians from governments and corporations abusing their power? What good is a Christmas tree here in Parliament when you have a federal government that will not fight anti-Christian bigotry in Canadian institutions? We've got to take action now. We need to defend parental rights of mothers and fathers. We need to defend conscience rights of unionized and non-unionized workers, including healthcare professionals. We have to stop the crime spree targeting churches, including arsons and vandalism, and we need to defend the legal status of Christian charities and the freedom of expression of Christian churches. The time for action is now. Make your voice heard, take a stand. We're launching a petition today at protectchristianscanada.com. I'm asking you to go on that website. And if you agree with me that we've got to do more to protect Christians in our country, please sign and share that petition.
And again, if you're not a Christian, I've said this like many times before, you know, the Christian faith has played a role in what has made Canada this great place that people wanted to flock to, that people felt was safe and free. And the Christian faith is about free will, the freedom to have religion or the freedom to reject it. There is no compelling, and the command to love all, regardless of which. So I think value-wise, we can all jump on board with the fact that churches should not be burning across our country, and politicians should certainly be doing more. So it's nice to see Jamil Giovanni and that petition going up.
And we need to not forget that Christianity teach us so much good values, so much good way to be in life with each other, with like it's values that we should.
All right. Amen, sister.
Amen.
So looks like we're going to talk about you and an upcoming trip you're doing. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I'm going to Paris with my colleague Sheila Gunn-Reid. We are going to go over there trying to cover the reopening of Notre Dame de Paris, that church that burned down 5 years ago and have been rebuilt, I would say. So we are going over there. I think we want to try to speak with the resident, what they think also, like, what was the cause? Because we don't know yet the cause of that fire. And a lot of people are skeptical that some people say, oh, it might be a electric problem. A lot of people say they don't believe that because the structure was made with a really, really strong wood that doesn't burn that easily. So we are going over there, but also we are going to talk also about the politics. I don't know if you heard, but a non-confidence vote didn't pass about the prime minister of Emmanuel Macron. So the prime minister had to step down. And so now they want to replace it. We will see if Macron will be able to stay in power, how long he will be able. And so we'll talk with the French citizen to talk a little bit to know what they think about it. And you know what? It's really interesting. On Sunday, during the reopening of Notre Dame de Paris, at the Basilica Notre Dame in Montreal, we have a pro-Hamas, anti-Israel protest that will took place around that basilica.
Okay, so you've already I'm really looking forward to your coverage there, though, especially obviously with the church. We talked about that a lot, but with that confidence vote and what's going to happen, all eyes are looking at France, especially people who are concerned about the fall of Western society and things like that. So important work.
But I think it's important also to expose what is going on, because we cannot wait for the government to really strongly condemn and call it what it is, a hate crime. So if we are waiting for them for doing something, we would just wait for the rest of our life. We need to take action. We need to uncover what really happened. And I think the people on the ground are the one who are the best witness to tell us what really happened.
Absolutely. The congregants too. So important work. Now, some people might not even know, as they're watching this, that some guns that they legally, lawfully purchased, not to do crimes, may have recently been banned. And the plan is to confiscate them under an ever-growing gun ban. But did you know that's not where it ends? Some of those guns may actually be getting sent to Ukraine for the war. So Trudeau, if we look at this article we have here, says Trudeau will send confiscated firearms to Ukraine to aid war effort. Canada has committed over $19 billion worth of aid and support to Ukraine, including $4.5 billion worth of lethal and non-lethal military equipment. So phase 1 of the gun buyback program, it's already underway, as Minister Dominic LeBlanc said. They've added 324 additional makes and models Thursday to the federal list of prohibitive guns. And what they did is they contacted Ukraine and said, hey, do you guys want some of these guns? And Ukraine said, yeah. So if you go to this video with, if we click on the Bill Blair video, and I think around timestamp 50 seconds or something like that is a good place to show people what's going down. It's in the article there. I think it's our first embedded tweet.
Their sovereignty, their citizens, and to win this war. And since 2015, Canada has committed over $19 billion worth of aid and support to Ukraine, including $4.5 billion worth of lethal and non-lethal military equipment. The Ukraine security forces have been very clear about the resources, support, and equipment that they need most. And we have always listened to them and tailored our donations to best meet those needs. And just this past October, we reached out to the Ukrainians once again to see whether any of the weapons that are currently under amnesty through Canada's assault-style firearms compensation program could be of any use to them in their fight against Russia. And they confirmed that indeed, some of the weapons that are part of the program would be suitable. And so I am pleased today to joining in this announcement to announce also that the Department of National Defense will begin working with the Canadian companies that have weapons that Ukraine needs and which are already eligible for the Assault Firearm Compensation Program in order to get these weapons out of Canada and into the hands of the Ukrainians. For companies that choose to participate in this initiative, the Government of Canada will pay them with the same amount, exactly the same amount for weapons donated to Ukraine as they would have paid them to participate in the existing compensation program as outlined by my colleague, Minister LeBlanc. Every bit of assistance that we can offer to the Ukrainians is one step towards their victory and a worthwhile investment of our collective time and efforts. Ukrainians are fighting not only for their sovereignty and freedom, but they're also fighting for the rules-based international order that has kept the world safe for nearly 80 years. And our support for Ukraine in this fight will be steadfast and committed. We will continue to support Ukraine with all of the help that we can to ensure that they have the resources and support that they need to win this war and to rebuild once the fighting stops. Thank you very much.
What a good idea to disarm Canadian, removing the gun from all Canadian to send it to another country. And by the way, the buyback program since 2020 cost us $67 million of dollars, and they hasn't collected a single gun.
Exactly. Exactly. And how much will it cost if and when they actually do have to go out, and how many resources will be lost? This is a good time to give us a Rumble rant, to rant about this, what you think about the gun grab. He said that we always listened to them and tailored our donations to best meet those needs, referring to Ukraine. Well, what about the people? What about the people you're taking the guns from? Meanwhile, the gun smugglers are laughing. Oh, great. Now we can keep, invading homes and all of this. Where's the effort to stop the actual guns that are actually doing the crime? Oh, it makes us so.
And by the way, I don't remember like the statistic about which kind of gun committed the crime, but the majority of the crime have been committed with illegal guns.
Yes, it's almost always illegal guns. And then when it's not an illegal gun and you look at gun crime, it's usually like, oh, somebody who didn't lock up their gun properly.
Exactly.
Like if it's a legal gun owner getting in trouble, that's almost what it is. It's very rarely that the legal gun owners are the ones out there killing and, of course, involved in the gangs and stuff like that. So it's just such a farce all around. And now it's like, oh, don't worry. Totally communistic. We're going to come into your homes, seize your guns, take them. But don't worry. We're going to put them over here and give them to Ukraine. So, oh my gosh.
It's not also like what Justin Trudeau actually talked about, the Airbnb, that is going to crack down on Airbnb recently. It's not like a communist kind of way to deal with like citizens and what they own.
Well, that already happened in BC. I didn't realize it was happening elsewhere. And I'm so used to communist stuff happening in BC. But yeah, that's already been hit hard out here. Very popular place to Airbnb is on the island, and many people got hit there quite hard. And it's very expensive to rent hotels and stuff there too. So and you have to ferry there if you're visiting from out. So you're really just cutting off a lot of tourism together. So it looks like our public safety minister, Dominic LeBlanc, is the one who announced the Liberals' plans to confiscate from more Canadians. Let's hear how he summed it up.
The government has introduced an amnesty that is currently in force and expires on October 30th, 2025, to protect individuals who legally purchased these firearms prior to the ban. This amnesty period will protect these individuals from criminal liability as they take steps to come into compliance with the law. During the amnesty period, there is an exception to allow Indigenous peoples exercising a right under Section 35 of the Constitution, as well as those who use firearms for sustenance hunting, to continue to use their now prohibited firearms to hunt, if previously non-restricted, until a suitable replacement can be found. As with the previous list of firearms, these models will, of course, be part of the assault-style firearms compensation program. And to that end, I'm pleased to point out that the pilot program of phase 1 of the gun buyback program is now underway. The program will be open for all businesses in the coming days. As part of that process, the Government of Canada has committed to the Ukrainian government to identify whether some of these guns could be donated to support the fight for democracy in Ukraine. My colleague Bill Blair will speak on this in a few moments. In addition to banning these guns, we're also taking action on the regulatory front. Next Friday, December 13th, we will table regulations to ensure that no firearm can come into Canada or be sold in Canada without first being approved by the RCMP.
Or
and no
coming in
later
illegally.
than the end of January, we will table additional measures in Parliament to address the rates of gun violence in situations of gender-based and intimate partner violence. We will also introduce further regulations on red and yellow flag laws early this spring, and regulations on large capacity magazines no later than March.
Do we need to look like so authoritarian? Like,
Yeah.
well,
it is
like, okay.
It's very fitting for what's happening. And if you go back a few years, if you remember after the mass shooting in Nova Scotia, that's really where they really used that as, an example for so long. But again, to point out the fact that even the guns that psychopath used, they were illegally obtained. So it's this song and dance we keep getting, and you're right, very authoritarian.
I wish that they use that money to be invested at our border, to secure our border and make sure that not only human, but drugs and guns are not crossing the other side.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, it's ridiculous how easy it is to just pass everything that you want over the border. Like, I spoke with some people where cars were crossing their field.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen Alexa's work by the border, I think you were out there with our colleague Lincoln Jay for, I want to say, like 10 days. Is that right? And
4 days.
4 days. Well, many days in the cold out there. So it's definitely a must-see. It's something that other news outlets are not doing and not showing you. And you're absolutely right. That's where the money needs to go. All the money that hasn't even confiscated one gun. I wonder if now it will be confiscated. And one of the other things that he said is that sort of amnesty thing is going to come to an end, I guess, on 2025 or something like that. So everybody has to get to speed. But there may be a new sheriff in town. So we'll see. There hopefully will, right? All I need for Christmas is a new prime minister. So we'll see what happens in that case.
We'll cross the finger.
Yeah. I think we have an ad to go through, and then we're coming back with more.
What if governments are trying to reinvent the wheel when the greatest teacher of all times has already laid out the perfect blueprint for a constitution for a kingdom of love, faith, and freedom? Introducing the Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport. This special edition Freedom Passport captures the foundational truths of love, ethics, and freedom for all. It's a powerful reminder of Jesus's call to love one another and to be part of something bigger that you can carry with you every day. Join the movement, share the truth, and spread the love with your family and friends. Get your Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport at freedompassport.ca. And right now, all orders in North America come with free shipping and a free downloadable song with every purchase.
This Christmas, get ready to unwrap the perfect gift for the truth seeker on your list, or even just for yourself. From the Rebel News store, our brand new holiday collection is here, featuring the boldest designs for the most festive. of Canadians. We already knew that Canadians weren't feeling it, and when I say it, I mean our government. But after Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland's recent vibe session comments, we now know for sure. Even the Liberals are admitting it.
A lot of economists have been talking about the vibe session.
So whether you're sipping on hot cocoa or dodging the bad vibes of our current Liberal regime, show off your holiday spirit with designs that speak the truth, like this one. All I want for Christmas is a new Prime Minister. And don't miss out. Use code REBELXmas for 15% off of your total order, because it's time for some new vibes this holiday season. So shop now at rebelnewsstore.com. Use coupon code REBELXmas for 15% off of your order. From all of us here at the Rebel to all of you at home, a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Love it. And I
Yeah.
do have a read from one of our sponsors. Very important, I think, to support people who and companies that are brave enough to work with Rebel News, should especially Rumble, of course, which many of you were asking to watch us on. So it says, do you enjoy the free speech that Rumble is protecting and fighting for? Yes, I do. Our show on Rumble is only possible thanks to our viewers supporting Rumble's platform by purchasing Rumble's products. Some people don't even know they have products. Most of you drink coffee every day. That's why you have to try Rumble's 1775 coffee. It's actually some of the best coffee, and it's the same price as the coffee you buy now, but it's way better. And again, a good Christmas gift. Rumble 1775 coffee is free from chemicals yet rich in flavor. This is because their beans are sourced from high altitude farms in Bolivia and hand-picked, roasted weekly at their facility in Miami and delivered fresh to your doorstep. And as believers in freedom, buying from Rumble helps fight back against woke corporations like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. Join the coffee revolution and brew rebellion. I like that. Brew rebellion. My goodness. Brew rebellion with Rumble's 1775 coffee. Go to 1775coffee.com, use code STUDIO, and get a free month's supply of their cognitive boosting supplement, Limitless, when you buy 2 bags of their coffee. So that's a win. Think about that. It's a crazy deal, and the supplement is worth more than the 2 bags of coffee. Go to 1775coffee.com and try their amazing coffee. Wow, I might need some of that Limitless.
And I can be like the review comment, because
Yeah.
I try it and I love it, and I'm really like a coffee lover, and their coffee is really, really good.
Really? Well, I must admit, I don't drink coffee, so that's great that you've had it for it. No, I'm a tea drinker. Remember, we were so freezing on the
Oh,
Take Over
yeah.
Our Streets mission. We had to take a break at Starbucks, which I'm not a huge fan of. But anyways, I got tea, you got coffee. So yeah,
I'm just a coffee lover. It just warm me up, and especially it wake me up.
yes, and maybe Limitless will wake people up too. I'm interested in trying that. And before we move on, because we were just talking about the gun grab, I am going to read a Rumble chat here real quick. If you don't know what that is, that's a way for you to be a part of the show, just like Ryerson Gary is doing. If you donate $5 or more, we read that. Everybody gets a seat on the screen. And he says, the good news is that Bill Blair has changed portfolios. True. So David and Ezra don't have to worry about goons and thugs with clubs and his textbook policing when they are removed from the sidewalks. I hope you're right about that, but you're right. Maybe they're going to be less roughed up, although David's still getting it rough. He has prosthetic hips, and to be slammed onto these police cars. And his last arrest, in case he didn't catch it, they cuffed him and couldn't get the cuffs off for 3 hours. So can you
So
imagine
they called
that?
the firefighters.
Yeah, they had to call the firefighters to get them off.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
So Bill Blair or not, my goodness. And what other nonsense is happening here? Okay, this is a little crazy here. No whites allowed in 2024. Does that surprise you? No whites are allowed at a University of Winnipeg in the BIPoC Lounge. Now, I know there's still a couple of people out there going, what the heck is BIPoC? Is that some sort of
Mhm.
disease that you can catch? So it's people of color and biracial. So the University of Winnipeg, sorry, you guys, I'm very sorry. I got new headphones because my other ones broke and these don't fit my ears. So excuse me for holding it because I know the mic is falling. The University of Winnipeg allows all students to enter and enjoy their BIPoC Lounge so long as they don't identify as white. What is this identify
Identify?
as crap? Yeah.
Like
This
what? I can just come and just say, oh, I identify as Black. I think that is more insulting.
Well, is it though? Like, what is identify as white? What is identify as Black? Out in, I know I'm going to get back to this, but in the science world in Vancouver, they were like, if you identify as Indigenous, you get in for free.
Yeah.
And I said, what is identify? You either are or you aren't. And they just looked at me like, So anyways, if you don't identify as white, if you identify as white, you're not welcome. But if you don't identify and you are white, I guess you're welcome. Inside the University of Winnipeg's Bowman Student Center, the University Students Association opens its BIPoC Lounge every day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. to serve as a safe space exclusively. What happened to the word inclusive? Exclusively for students who identify as Black, Indigenous, or as a person of color, aka BIPoC. This is really some disturbing stuff. And, I've heard the term reverse racism, but I don't like that term either because racism is just racism. And racism is colorblind in the sense that it doesn't care who you are. Often, if you're the minority, you're more likely to be experience racism, depending on what country or area you're in. A list of the lounge rules posted at the entrance clearly states that students who do not identify as Black, Indigenous, or as a person of color do not meet the requirements to enter the lounge and are not welcome inside. This is that moment. This is that moment in history that we've all heard of in the past where people are faced on what side of history are they on? Are they pro-segregation? Are they pro-racism? Are they pro-Jim Crow laws happening in Canada, in a university?
Like, seriously, take a moment. And if it was the reverse, that it was only white people allowed in, this will be everywhere as like, oh, condemnation, this. And just because now we are actually going against the white people, that's fine. There is no problem there.
It's so bad. And I think part of the whole identifying thing is that's kind of what they want white people to do right now is not to identify with being white. They want them to identify as being the oppressors, this sort of faceless, shameless thing that you shall have no pride in who you are, who your culture, who your heritage. It doesn't matter what your lineage went through to get you or your family where you are. You are nothing. You are whittled down unless you're an ally. If you're an ally, then you're something, then you're welcome, you're part of the movement, and you can come into the BIPoC Lounge. It's some sick, twisted stuff, and it doesn't surprise me at all it's happening.
Yeah, but do you remember not long time ago in Ottawa, there were a show that was supposed to be for only Black people and Indigenous.
Yes.
And finally, because of the pushback, they allowed in almost everybody who identify or whatever in. And I was like, seriously, are we bringing back racism?
We are. I saw a quote, it said, racism wasn't dead, but we have brought it back to life. Like that's what we've done. It was on life support and we brought it back to life. But I'm going to share a link too, because it's just reminding me, and I actually have another report coming up about this connected to it. But the anti-white art display at the Vancouver Art Gallery, I don't know if anybody saw my report on that. I'm not finding it very fast, but they had a whole display with just anti-white stuff after another, and people are going in there and looking at it, and there's white people like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And my question is, and I know there's a lot of white people who are against this stuff, and that's great, but there are a lot of white people who are for this stuff. And my question is, what has happened? Like, how were you raised to believe that you are this horrible person? There you go. Conceptions of white, because they say white isn't really a thing, by the way. But why do some white people fall for this so quickly and actually just whittle down to what this narrative is trying to make them? I don't know why that's happening. If the tables were reversed and society was telling me that, you're black, you're bad, I would push back against that. Yeah. So.
And how do you see all this? Because like now it's kind of like the reverse. I don't know if they want us to feel what the people in the past, like the black people in the past, have lived. I don't know if it's like a kind of revenge. What do you think it is?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Well, what I really think it is again, it's a pushback on Western society. It's about disabling our nation. That's what I think. Many of these bizarre things that have been pushed over the years, I think one of the things they all come down to is taking away our pride in our nation and things like that, and making way for a whole new sort of system and program and identity of Canada. So we're essentially losing Canada.
Because what I see, the movement of the far left of anti-colonialism refer to the white, the Christian, and also they put the Jews also in the same boat. So what we are seeing right now, it's the white, it's the Christian, it's the Jew that have been attacked by all corners. It's mostly for getting rid of the people who they call the people who colonize the colonizers.
Yeah.
So how I feel.
Yeah, and if your parents out there, I mean, I do many reports on the stuff that's happening in schools to even younger than university. I mean, it doesn't start at university. So make sure you're really having these conversations with your kids too, because they don't stand a chance. They want to be inclusive. Kids are not naturally racist. And so when they're told, like, just by the color of their skin, they might be, of course, they want to be an ally or whatever. So you really, really got to show your kids the way to go with all of this stuff. What do we have here? Oh, speaking of another issue when we're talking about how much Canada is changing, this is actually pretty interesting. There was a Leger poll for looking at how supportive people are in Canada of jobs being given to people based on their cultural and ethnic background. So if we click on that there, and it found that in the report that the majority of Canadians oppose DEI hiring, including 50% of immigrants who were polled, which doesn't surprise me either. I was getting my eyebrows threaded by a woman from India, and she's been here for many years, and they came here, and she is so against. She said, everywhere we go, so in the Lower Mainland, she said, I see so many people from India working at these places. And, whether it's Popeye's Chicken, whether it's Walmart, even when I traveled to Ontario recently, I noticed everybody at the airport was, from India, it looked like, and they were speaking their language, and it didn't seem like Vancouver. And she said that when she came and her husband came, that they had to pay around $60,000 to enter the country and live here. And they had to prove that they had money and stuff like that. I don't know what year they came. And she's like, and these guys are coming, they're just staying in hotels and all this, and they're not, like, she is enraged about it. So it doesn't surprise me that 50% of immigrants are saying, yeah, no, I don't like this. You should be hard work. You know what I mean? That used to be the story, where they came here with barely anything in their pockets and they made a life for them. They made a life for their kids. They made a life for their grandkids, and so on. The other thing, if you click on the article,
by the way, if your life is in danger and you need a surgery, do you want a DEI doctor, a surgeon,
No.
or you want like someone that is qualified because he's the best of the best?
Exactly. Well, look at our military. It's dwindling down to whoever wants tampons in the men's bathroom. Like, seriously, we are in some serious trouble when it comes
Yeah.
to DI. When you click on the actual poll here, if you go into the article and click on the poll, get this. This is shocking. I did not see this one coming. It says Americans are more open than Canadians to take into account cultural background when hiring people. So that's interesting. So there, look, it says, I have to expand this. When companies hire people, it is important for employers to take their cultural background, for example, racial status, visible minority, into account. And it says that 36% of United States answered yes, where only 28% answered yes in Canada. So 57% in Canada say no.
But do you think the movement of DEI was stronger in Canada than in US? I think it was stronger into Canada. I think we are way more woke than the US at the moment.
We're definitely more woke, but I mean, there's been pushback against DEI hiring as far as giving initiatives to people by color in the States, I would say longer than there has here. I almost feel like, yes, we're more woke, but I guess when the silent majority has a chance, they're like, yeah, we don't like this stuff. And I think it really does come, like if you live in an area like mine, or even in certain rural areas where it's just happening, like white teenage kids, or not even white, I shouldn't even say white, local teenage kids are not able to get jobs anymore at Walmart. There's all these initiatives happening to foreigners getting the job. Speaking of Popeyes, I was at Popeyes and I noticed the same thing. Seemed like everybody has a strong accent. They all seem like they're from India. And I asked the lady, I said, you know, how did you get this job? Why does it look like everybody's from India? This is me being a reporter on my day off. And she said that they apply on an app from India. So I've been meaning to do a report on this, and I will. But they're applying before they even come into the country to see if they can get a job, whereas your teen is probably going there and they're chucking the resume in the garbage because they don't have the incentives. So
but
very
I would
concerning.
say it's the same thing. Like, you know, Quebec, we don't used to have a lot of multiculturalism over there. And right now, if you go to Maxi, it's all people from other country that are now working there. It's not Quebecer. It's really, and I was like, okay, this is a big change. But I see all the time, I'm on Reddit, and I see lots of Quebecer that are complaining because they are like, I cannot find a job, and it's all I have this comment coming in my feed almost every day or every week, that people are just complaining that they cannot find a job as a student.
That's scary. And I don't know if people caught it on the screen. Our lovely producers just put it up, but Quebecers, Alexa, are the most likely to disagree that when companies hire people, it's important for employers to take their cultural background into account. So 50%, 63% of Quebecers say no. BC actually is surprising, but I as I said, you can see it. You can see it a lot out here. 57% said no in BC. So times are changing. If your kids and grandkids can't get jobs,
because
absolutely.
BC it's something. It's I thought you were way worse than us.
I think we've had enough. I mean, if you paid attention to the election, a conservative government came back from the dead. Hasn't been in power for 100 years and almost won. So I think British Columbians they've had enough with the wokeness. So we're slowly becoming more like our cousins in Alberta, but not fast enough, I must say.
I think it's the same in Quebec. Can you believe that Premier Legault is less popular than Justin Trudeau? This is crazy.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know that.
A survey went out recently and they show that Premier Legault is less popular than Trudeau. And we know that Trudeau is not doing well. And I was like, is it even possible to be like less popular than Justin Trudeau?
Yeah, I didn't think that was a thing at all, but that's pretty sad. I don't know how you still walk around if you're less popular politician than Trudeau. My goodness.
I think it's just don't walk around.
yeah, exactly. I've lost my spot here, but we spoke about it earlier, which is this whole how do you identify as far as your ethnicity goes? And we have someone who's been identifying as something he wasn't for quite some time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
we talk about Randy Boissonnault.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Why can't I? I'm so sorry. See, I don't usually host the show, so I'm literally lost here. I'm trying to.
But
there. Let's start with the video. Thank you. Okay, is that a video? Okay,
Yeah,
it's on the screen. Yeah. There we go. Oh, can you put it back on the screen for me, please?
There is a video, but there is an article that come with the video.
Okay, so Boissonnault admits he's not Indigenous and apologizes for past heritage claims. The Liberal MP who served as Canada's Minister of Employment initially referred to himself as non-status adopted Cree, based on a conversation with an Indigenous researcher. He had a nickname too and everything. Like, can we show the video and then I will get myself sorted with my comments here. Yes, sure. Yeah. We're going to show the video there. Sorry to just throw that on you guys there. This is so funny.
I think Sheila now she's calling him Pocahontas.
Pocahontas. Yeah, she was so proud. I remember Sheila was like, I got to do my Pocahontas report. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see how that's.
Have you commenced legal action against Mr. Anderson?
I've sought legal advice, Mr. Cooper, to look at all of my legal options.
So the answer to that is no. So let me get this straight. You claim that you are not the Randy and Anderson's text messages. The first report of this Randy being implicated in the $500,000 shakedown of the Gowie Group was all the way back 6 months ago on June 4th of this year. On July 17th, Anderson testified at the Ethics Committee that the only Randy at Global Health Imports was you. That day, you issued a statement in which you said
sorry,
you
guys.
were, quote,
I think,
deeply troubled
yeah,
by
sorry, I think that's
Anderson's
the wrong
testimony.
video there.
But there is multiple ones. So it just like he had 2 hours to. So there was a. I don't know how you call it, like a parliament order that specified that he had to stay 2 hours to answer question. And so for the 2 hours, it was just a big back and forth and trying to say, but did you sue your partner that apparently used your name without your consent? And it was just all about that. So it's a long video, but at the end of the day, we know that Randy Boissonnault falsely say that he was Indigenous. Of course, that was giving him, I think was it the tax exemption, or was it like some exemption that he didn't have to pay regarding the federal government? Also, there is like I know that Sheila Gunn-Reid is the one that follow really closely what is happening with Pocahontas.
Yeah, and he was part of a company, it looks like, that he co-founded as well, that reportedly applied for contracts that are reserved for Indigenous businesses. So that's pretty crazy. And his nickname was Strong Eagle Man. So you're faking this Indigenous identity, and you accept this name of being the Strong Eagle Man. Like, this is some messed up, creepy stuff. To do it. But in a society where people tell you can just identify as whatever the heck you want to be, on the flip side, well, what's the big deal? If you believe you can identify as a man and walk into a women's change room, and you believe you can identify as non-white in order to get into a BIPoC lounge at a university, well, I guess he is Strong Eagle Man by some standard. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so exactly. So the end, they say the former minister insisted he had no knowledge of those bids. attributing them to a business partner, Stephen Anderson, misusing his name and said he was taking legal steps to address that issue, but had not yet acted. It's been a couple of months now, I think, but it's, yeah, so it was not an example of tax. It was actually applying for contract reserved for Indigenous businesses, as you just mentioned. But
yeah,
I just mentioned, this is one of the problem when now we are saying, like, you can just identify what you want, identify as Black, identify as whatever you want, and now you can apply for. Now, this is the problem. Like, we are opening the door to so many fraudulent action in Canada just based on identifying as someone or something.
Yeah, and it's not just encouraging people to identify as something, it's telling them that if you don't, you're not good enough. You're basic, as the kids say. I remember one of my kids got a package home from school, and it was inviting parents to essentially have their kids identify as Indigenous. And it was saying, if your kids identify as Indigenous, then you get all of this. And it was like this long list. It was like, you can get tutoring after school. I mean, you know how expensive tutoring is? So you get free tutoring, you get these clubs all over there. And I thought, how many parents are just responding back and say, yeah, my kid identifies Indigenous? Like, it's just ridiculous. Just give it to all who need it. If you can't afford tutoring, it should go to whoever can't afford tutoring.
If I identify as asylum seeker, do I get like free lodging, free food, free
cell phone,
free everything?
Suites in a hotel. Yeah, free strollers when you don't have a baby. I have no clue why. it's just we have to give you that. So, oh my gosh, we're such a gong show in this country sometimes. So Ryerson Gary donates another $5. Thank you so much for being part of the show and helping us out. Don't be too harsh on those that identify as something else. After all, our esteemed leader identified as a 12-year-old girl last week at a concert while Montreal had riots. Oh my gosh.
You don't remember? He was not only dancing, he was exchanging friendship bracelet with other people.
The beads. And I think he identifies as a 12-year-old girl often. If you look at how that man sits, he's doing that often. Okay, we're just seeing a little bit more colors when it comes to the Taylor Swift. He went to the Barbie. He didn't just go to the Barbie movie. Remember how he looked when he went to the Barbie meeting. There he is, right there. He's just loving it. This is Trudeau. This is, for once, we're not seeing the monologue. We're not seeing the mask. We're not seeing blackface. We are seeing the real Trudeau here. Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
And we have another Rumble chat. Anybody who wants to get in on the talk action can donate $5 or more. And if you want to have another comment, we might read it too. But the $5 or more does go to help our reports go strong. So Alberta Dawn says, does Trudeau still pay a percentage of the wage if you hire an immigrant? Why do Indigenous get an exemption for gun grab? We are all Canadians. Well, I couldn't agree anymore. Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. And yes, there are still incentives. And that's, I got to start reporting on this more, but there are incentives for companies to hire newcomers over other people. And that's what you're seeing happening. It's the proof is in the pudding. So we do need to dig down on that more.
I want to mention, I spoke with some people, they have a farmland and they are hiring people from Guatemala or other places in some country. Right. And what they were saying, they need to pay for them to come all over here and start working with them, plus the salary and everything. But they disappear. They cross the other side.
What? Yeah. So they're paying for them to come. Now, are they getting incentives for the government, or you don't know that?
I don't know that, but the thing is, I know they pay a lot of money for them to come to work on their farm, and suddenly a morning there is one missing, and that happened regularly, what they say to me.
Oh my goodness. Now I imagine it's not as easy to find a lot of farmer workers, I would imagine, depending on where you are. But that's
And
crazy.
not
You
only
pay for
that,
them to come and they take off. Of course they do. Of course they do.
and the problem is, you know, what they were explaining to me is like they have a certain amount of worker that they need for the season. If one goes the other side,
Right.
they cannot replace that person like that. So a part of their season is done. They cannot replace it.
Wow. Yeah, because of course they don't want to go work on a farm. Oh man, that's not funny, but oh my gosh, that's so bad. We have a little bit of another ad read, is that right? Yes, okay. So this is from our sponsors at Rumble again. I just love Rumble so much. And I loved them
Me
before they
too.
sponsored us, but now I love them even more. This sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally, including Rebel News. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked by governments like France. They are attacked from the brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight, and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are just happy if you watch us on Rumble. I mean,
and by the way, like we always talk about how Elon Musk and X is wonderful for the freedom of expression, and we are free to express ourselves, to post what we want without being in fear of being or the platform remove, silence, censor, whatever. But Rumble held the line, and that's true because during COVID they refused to comply to the French government, and they tried to pressure them so much that Rumble said, okay, we are leaving your country. And they left France. And so now French people have no access to Rumble just because they decided to not comply to the government.
Yeah. Scary, scary stuff. Freedom of speech is so important. I think everybody listening knows that. So these companies that have stuck their neck out, especially during COVID, that's when we got, lost all our monetization. I don't know the exact amount, but I know it amounts to millions, I would think that it's added up to. So some serious stuff. If you support and love what Rumble's doing and you don't like what YouTube has been doing and hasn't even fessed up to or apologized for yet, watch Rumble, share Rumble, and check out their Rumble. I already forgot the name. Go sign up for the Rumble using the code STUDIO. So yes, and look at that. I think we are past the hour. I'm almost have an interview to do, and my dog is asking to be walked. But that went by faster. Thank you for everybody who was a part of the show and the Rumble rants and everybody who's watching. And to my lovely co-host, Alexa, it's always a pleasure to have some time with you. And of course, to our producers who work so hard behind the scenes to make us look good. Thank you guys for this. Until next time.
Ciao.
Ladies and gentlemen, Leapin' Lincoln J here again with none other than the Menzoid. Say Menzoid with Christmas Day fast approaching. Rebel News viewers are getting stressed out. Many still don't know what they're going to give their friends and families for Christmas. So, Menzoid, do you have any advice for them?
Well, you know something, Leapin' Lincoln? Nobody needs to get stressed out this time of year. Nobody needs to brave jam-packed shopping malls, gross traffic jams, and horrific weather. But the Menzoid has the perfect solution.
What are you getting at, Menzoid?
What I'm getting at is our viewers simply have to go to the rebelnewsstore.com, and with a click of a button, they can source awesome Rebel News swag for all of their loved ones.
Do you have any gift-giving tips?
Do I have any gift-giving trips? Hey, Leapin' Lincoln, the Santa sleigh, is it powered by 8 flying reindeer? Let's start with some haberdashery that's going to be in style for at least 4 years, brother. I'm talking about Trumpomania tees, tanks, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. That's right, Trumpomania, the iconic image that resulted when the most powerful force in the wrestling universe collided with the greatest force in the political stratosphere at the RNC convention last summer. That's when the immortal Hulk Hogan donned a tank top, proclaiming the birth of Trumpomania. This item has become the most must-have fashion accessory of 2024, and it's still going to be in fashion until at least 2028, brother.
What else have you got?
Well, you know, Leapin' Lincoln, the Menzoid does everything in his power to bring our viewers the other side of the story. But the man doesn't like that. The man has arrested the Menzoid 5 times this year alone just for practicing journalism, brother. Our viewers can show their solidarity by wearing a t-shirt with my mugshot on it, bearing the slogan, "Wanted for Journalism." We even have mugs with that image and slogan. And talk about irony, brother. My police mugshot on a coffee mug. And there's so much more at the Rebel News Store because the Menzoid's mission this year is all about MCGA. Make Christmas great again.
What do you mean by that, Menzoid?
What I mean, Leapin' Lincoln, is that last week the Menzoid jumped behind the wheel of a kick-ass Nissan GTR equipped with 600 rip-roaring ponies under the hood. And I stuffed this ride with as much Rebel News merch as it could possibly take. I made a beeline to the North Pole, brother. I left my driveway going 100 kilometers an hour. I pushed the pedal to the metal, and soon I was doing 200 clicks, 300 clicks. Then I buried the accelerator, and soon I was going at warp factor 9, brother. I soared northbound into Quebec, and when I ran out of highway, I kept driving my souped-up sleigh on Nunavut's tundra. The next thing you know, the GTR's hood flew off. Then the windshield shattered. Then all 4 tires exploded. But I didn't care, brother, because those steel wheels were still grinding and rolling on that frozen turf. Pretty soon I was driving on sheer ice. I entered the Arctic Circle. Flames were shooting out of the tailpipe. And that GTR now resembled the Polar Express from hell. But I kept going, brother, even when the doors blew off, even when the shock absorber snapped, even when the radiator overheated, even when the engine gasket imploded, and when the gas tank was empty. I didn't care. Brother, I just absorbed the energy of the Northern Lights. I just had to make this extra special delivery to Santa's workshop so that not a single solitary Menzoid maniac would be disappointed on Christmas Day. And I made it, brother. So, folks, what I'm saying is this. The big red guy is fully stocked with Rebel merch, ready to ship. All you have to do is place your order at rebelnewsstore.com.
Wow, that was truly an epic odyssey, Menzoid. But Menzoid, just one hitch. Are you concerned that when people shop online as opposed to going to the mall, they don't get to hear all those melodic Christmas carols?
Melodic Christmas carols? Hey, Leap and Lincoln, try these Yuletide stanzas on for size. Santa is red, Cobalt is blue. If you don't visit the rebelnewsstore.com, what you gonna do?